Well, thank you, Amanda. It's great to be here and glad that you could join us, even remotely. Um, I'm going to actually present today a little bit of background on what we do and how we support your students here in a variety of different ways. You may not be familiar with the office. The office is actually relatively new. I believe we started roughly 2014, 2015 timeframe, and there's been one vice dean prior to myself. So I just joined this office last year. I have to say I'm still learning the ropes. I'm technically a second year student, if you will, in the area. But hoping to continue to evolve the programs and to offer even more enrichment for your students as we move along this year, even if we have to do it remotely. So just to give you a brief idea of what it is that we do, I thought I would share our mission. In a nutshell, we're here to support your students, and we are completely online, completely open in everything that we do. We're here to educate from students all the way up through faculty. We support all parties at USC and Viterbi, and we even offer many of our programs openly. And so many students and faculty from other units also join us. And we think that that collaboration really enriches the experience of the engineering students because they do offer other expertise as they come and work with us. So one thing to note, just to clarify how we operate, we're here in a supporting role. We don't do any technology transfer. That's actually handled by a completely different entity that serves the entire university, and that's called the Stevens Center for Innovation. So let me start by giving you a little bit of background about Los Angeles, even though we're not physically, many of us are not physically on campus right now. And to tell you a little bit about the excitement of sort of the tech startup scene in Los Angeles. So every year what I do is I pull up a new version of a map. This is actually represent LA. And what all these little location dots are capturing is the activity just in this region alone, showing different startups, accelerators, incubators, different entities that actually support the startup scene. And you can see, I actually have a zoomed out version. If you look really closely, you might be able to pick out Los Angeles. You can see that the map is really crowded, and that's great. It actually gets more and more crowded every year. And so I have to zoom out every year. So there's a lot of activity happening. A couple of facts about Los Angeles that you may or may not know. We have the third largest GDP in the world after Tokyo and New York. So there's a lot of activity. A lot of it happens to be tech. We have the third largest tech ecosystem in the US and also the fastest growing tech ecosystem in the US. So we could overtake #1 and #2 soon if we keep at it. Companies have done really well. To give you an idea, some of the traditional industries that work in the area, we've been known for gaming, e-commerce, online media, and there are many emerging sectors, virtual reality, artificial reality, esports, transportation, and especially aerospace. You probably have heard a lot about the aerospace and space exploration activities that are happening in the LA region. Los Angeles is not traditionally known for this, but it turns out we are in fact the manufacturing capital of the US. We graduate more engineers than any other US city. I think that's a pretty remarkable thing. And Silicon Beach, which we like to spell at USC with SC, is home to over 500 technology companies and growing. And Silicon Beach is just adjacent to where campus is. So I thought I'd start off in talking about our programs by giving you a really broad overview, because we do so much, not just at the university itself, but also we have a reach that is nationwide. So many of the programs I'll focus on today really support the students that we have in Viterbi, and also some of the neighboring regions. They interact with the programs that we have. Just beyond campus in South Bay, actually closer to where Los Angeles Airport is, we have an incubator called the Viterbi Startup Garage, and that supports not only startups that come out of USC, but it's actually open to startups in the region and from other states as well. We have a nationwide program that's supported by the National Science Foundation. We have what's called an Innovation Core Node, and in that program, we teach methods of customer discovery to help get faculty inventors, student inventors, independent innovators off the ground with their ideas to figure out who's actually going to buy their technology that they've created. So this is an educational support program where teams can actually win $50,000 to advance their ideas. And so we support Southern California. We do this in collaboration with a couple other universities. And our reach really is nationwide because we've actually reached out to teams as far as New York and stretching all the way to Hawaii and Alaska. The real key focus for your students here is going to be our Viterbi Student Innovation Institute, which we call VSI squared. And I've listed many of the different ways in which we can interact and support your students. Given the fact that we are, a teaching university and we offer engineering majors from undergrad through graduate school, we do offer classes. We teach modules and classes. All of the freshmen will get exposed a little bit to technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We offer 2 modules in the Freshman Engineering Academy. And we also have the Engineering Honors Program, which was recently revamped as of last year to offer both an innovation track and a research track. The innovation track is actually quite popular. We probably have a little bit more than half of the students. And this is a program that we don't offer immediately for incoming freshmen, but is something that they can apply to and earn and gain entry to. This is an undergraduate program. In addition to our formal class offerings, we do a lot of co-curricular activities, training, competitions, experiences. As part of that, we offer ways in which students can get together, build teams, meet students in other parts of the university, and develop their concepts and ideas. We have many networking events. We will be opportunistic in offering many special seminars and events. We've offered in the past a startup panel for students that are interested in being employed at startups instead of traditional companies. And we have office hours where we provide personalized mentoring and support. I'll introduce some of the folks later on that actually participate in our program and support all the different activities that we do. One critical piece of our offerings is that in addition to students participating in our programs, students can offer support for our programs too. We actually employ a number of very talented student workers that interface in many different ways with the programs that you see listed above, as well as many things that are not listed here, helping behind the scenes, making everything possible. So I do want to point out that there are different ways to interact with us. There are so many classes out there. I'm only going to name just a few of them here, ranging from undergraduate classes all the way through graduate classes. The very first class is a key class in our Engineering Honors Program. The second one is Engineering Freshman Academy, which all freshmen take. And then we've got new classes in the pipeline. We're hoping to offer next year, Disruptive Technologies with an Entrepreneurial Mindset. I'm not going to go through all of these. If you go online, you can probably find many more classes that are being offered each year. And many of these, I want to say, are in collaboration with the Lloyd Greif Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, which is a unit in the Marshall School of Business. So we very much collaborate with others and find that it really enriches the experience of students in that way. So in addition to the curriculum, we offer a number of different programs. Many of them involve prizes that students have to compete for in some way. Our undergraduate student-focused program is Atoms, Bits, and Cells, or the ABC, and we offer each year 3 prizes of $1,000 per team of students. Just to break down what we mean by atoms, bits, and cells, it essentially, you can see the definitions there. It essentially encompasses every possible area of deep technology or engineering. And so it's really open to all areas of engineering. This particular prize, unlike our others, is limited only to undergraduates. So it's theirs to really take advantage of. Every year we offer information sessions about our programs. We've already done a general one to explain this one to the students, and we'll probably do additional ones to encourage students to apply. Applications are going to be due in January, and for all of the programs that we have, we actually host information about them on our website, viterbiinnovation.usc.edu. I've kind of listed where appropriate the specific addresses for the sites for the different programs that I'm going to be walking through, but you can find all of them at viterbiinnovation.usc.edu. I'm going to mention just one class because it did end up in us sending a team out to the Pentagon. This is our Hacking for Defense program. This is offered to graduate students, although some undergraduates take it as well. Here we actually combine the expertise of our faculty and military experts to offer problems to students to work on that involve dealing with real national security issues. The students work side by side, get to do visits, and actually this year it's going to be all virtual, and they do a lot of networking. And at the end, they get to pitch their ideas in a final showcase for the class. This is one of many classes in which we have showcases at the end where students actually get to present the results of their hard work over the semester. And we're very proud of teams that have gone on to, after this class to win different competitions, both at the university and elsewhere. And the team shown at the bottom right, Adamus, is one of those that's actually done really well. Our flagship competition that we offer every year is the Meng Entrepreneurship Prize Competition. This offers a $50,000 grand prize that is awarded to a company that a team forms. The winners from last year are shown in the top. This particular team, Gray Matter Robotics, is interested in using artificial intelligence to automate and speed up the last stages of manufacturing. This team, in addition to winning the $50,000 grand prize, also gets access to free legal services from different law firms that we engage with and that are willing to offer this additional support to teams. So not just Gray Matter Robotics, but actually the top 3 place teams actually got to take advantage of these legal services. As part of this competition, we offer a series of educational workshops that train teams to develop pitches, to understand who might be interested in their innovation, and to go out there and sort of flesh out their ideas more. You can kind of see a calendar in the bottom here showing different events that we have associated with that. There's a link down below that tells you a little bit more about this. The second major competition that we have every year is called the Meng Family Challenge. This was enabled with the generous support of some Viterbi alum and actually 2 students, a parent of 2 students who are also Viterbi, who are also USC alums. There's also a $50,000 grand prize associated with this. Unlike the Meng competition, which is open to all forms of technology, this one in particular, per the vision of our donors, is really meant to engage engineering students in society's biggest problems. And so there's an aspect of social entrepreneurship that's attached with this. And so it's limited, a little bit more limited in scope, but it deals with some of the biggest problems facing society. Last year's winners are down below to give you a sense of what they're interested in doing. This particular team is a mixture of engineering undergraduates and graduate students. They're called Agriculture. And they're interested in improving the health and well-being of some of the low-income residents around in our neighborhood by giving them educational content, especially middle school students, about nutritional value of different foods. This is done through curriculum, done through educational testing kits, and done through video games to engage these groups and to help them understand some of the choices that they make and promote healthy choices. Again, these teams get access to training services, free legal services, and some of the timeline is shown down below. We have a number of additional programs that really span the whole spectrum between students and faculty. For those of your students that get involved in research activities, like for instance, the Gray Matter Robotics, which is an effort that came out of Professor S.K. Gupta's lab. Those labs have access to something called the Mousetrap Fund, which helps faculty who have research get on a pathway to commercializing it. We also have a venture fund that provides funding to help teams launch. We do very early stage funding, and for sure some startups that have come out of student efforts have ended up with funding from our venture fund. There are so many other programs across USC. I don't want to just limit this discussion to what Viterbi does. We also collaborate with other schools and programs. And one very exciting thing that I'm sure you've heard about already this weekend is that our Baum Family Makerspace is coming soon. So there's an artist rendition of what that space is going to look like. And so we're very excited to be able to open that space sometime in the spring. So I want to take a step outside of what's offered in the main campus now and tell you about some of the other programs that students can get involved in. As I mentioned, near the Los Angeles International Airport in Marina del Rey, we host a incubator called the Viterbi Startup Garage. This is a year-round program that is most commonly residential, but currently is all virtual. And this program allows teams from all over the nation to apply and join our facility for free and take advantage of all the different offerings that we have. We have had some companies set up shop there that have come out of student activities. And we also offer in the summer an immersive student internship experience where students that are from Viterbi can actually work for one of the startups at the garage and get a firsthand experience of what it's like to actually build a startup from scratch and to struggle with many different issues. So the two links for the Startup Garage and the Summer Smasher program are down below. As I mentioned earlier, we're home to a National Science Foundation program called the Innovation Core. And this specific program was started by the National Science Foundation to try and prevent technologies developed in universities from being orphaned. And so our program offers a variety of different training to help inventors bridge that valley of death and to get their technologies into the commercial world by offering not only the educational content, but a little bit of support, largely in the form of travel grants. Travel courses now no longer allowed. And so those funds are actually being adapted to enable different teams to reach out to potential customers and different mentors to help them along in their effort. So if students actually choose to go down this path, they can actually get an early $30,000 grant from the node. And then if they progress into the national program, they can actually win an additional $50,000 to advance their technologies through the National Science Foundation. And so the link is down below for that specific program. So over a period of about 5 or 6 years, this program has supported more than 550 teams and from 15 different member institutions, and some of them are listed here. USC is actually the host and the anchor for all these activities, and the teams that have been associated have raised $279 million and counting for their entities that they've created. So we offer a range of different programs all year round, from ones that are very focused at being at USC to promoting progress outside of USC after students graduate. We're always seeking input on what would be more impactful and more valuable for your students. We rely on a whole network of different volunteers and mentors to help support our programs. So I'm not intending for you to read everything that we offer here. I was trying to capture in one slide all that we do. And I want to introduce to you briefly some of the different people who are responsible for the activities that we put on. And maybe if they could at least show their video briefly if they're here. When I mention them, that would be fantastic. So as Amanda introduced, I am the anchor for the program. I'm the Vice Dean for Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. And I help really craft many of the student and faculty programs. I'm also an innovation liaison throughout campus and serve on different committees that help connect different units and to create collaborations among different units here. I also run my own research lab, and what got me interested in helping out more in this area is my own experience as a faculty inventor. When I went through graduate school, I knew that I wanted to become faculty. And at that point in time, I didn't really understand the importance of innovation and invention in sort of faculty career and how that could actually spur not only economic development, but actually benefit the biomedical space where patients depend on new innovations every day. And so that really got me into thinking about how I could do more than just publish academic papers, but actually get my inventions out into the public. Dave Eastman is my counterpart. He's the director of our National Science Foundation Innovation Core Node. He's also the director of our Startup Garage, and he manages both the Mousetrap Fund and the Viterbi Venture Fund. Dave is not an academic. He actually comes from the startup and the finance world. And so he offers a different perspective and a lot of valuable experience from over the years, having exited startups in the tech space successfully. Ellis Liu is our assistant director. She directs our engineering honors program and is the mentor for the students in that program that have to actually produce a technology commercialization plan or startup at the end of that. She also manages our Massey Entrepreneurship Prize competition. I'm not sure that Alice is able to join us this morning. Precious McClendon is the glue that holds the entire office together. She has a very strong role as the TA for our I-Core node and is also the program coordinator for our office. Arcelia Navarro is our facilities manager at the Viterbi Startup Garage. And Jason Ordonez, if any of your students happen to win any prizes, he's the most important guy because he handles all our finances and he deals with the awards processing at the end of that. Trina Gregory, who is on, She is also one of our assistant directors. She is the lead on all of our student engagement and handles our student entrepreneurship education. She handles our Min Family Challenge. Trina is a faculty as well, and also a student. And so she's playing multiple roles this year. Cliff Newman handles our Hacking for Defense program. He's a faculty in computer science. Farzeen Samadani also works with him in Hacking for Defense. He's actually a nationally certified instructor in that area. He also plays a role in our Innovation Core and happens to also be an entrepreneur in residence for Los Angeles City Hall. Farzeen wears so many hats, I actually can't list them all here, so this only captures a little bit of his activity. Susan Angus joins us for the Min Family Challenge. She's actually not employed by USC, but actually runs a nonprofit called the Commission on Voluntary Service and Action, and is very active in the community and connects us with so many valuable resources for our students in the social entrepreneurship space. Our Viterbi Startup Garage is supported by the Amazon Alexa Fund, and so Kevin Crosby works for Amazon and is an innovator in residence at that space. Bai Ling In is faculty in the Marshall School of Business and helps with instruction in the Massey Entrepreneurship Prize competition. And she also happens to direct the Technology Commercialization Program, which offers a certificate in collaboration with Marshall to our engineering students. So one thing I want to put out there as I sort of wrap up and open up the session for questions, I'm hoping that we can be interactive and we can have a chat and a discussion, is that we're always looking for volunteers. What we do is really supported by the presence of volunteers. We're looking for people who have valuable experiences in their own careers that might want to share their experiences with students. Students love that type of interaction. There may be folks that actually want to share their personal expertise. I've had alumni reach out who have transitioned from being in engineering to being in law firms, and they want to share their legal expertise with students as they venture into this startup space. Many of our programs involve mentorship for teams. For instance, all of our prize competitions do in some way. And so if you're interested in mentoring students in that capacity, definitely reach out to us. And many of our faculty don't have training at all. Actually, the large majority of them don't, and are always looking for ways in which they can expand their knowledge and better understand how to navigate the valley of death. If you have access to other resources that you'd love to refer us to, I'm all ears. And if you have new ideas for our programs, definitely feel free to reach out to us. Always encourage your students to try out our new programs. In our informational sessions that we hosted this past month and also in September, we had a number of freshmen, very active, very engaged freshmen join us and ask a lot of questions. And so we're hoping to see a lot more of that. And if your students aren't freshmen, it's never too late to start. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions about any of our programs, any sort of ideas that you may have. And I'm hoping to make the rest of this session interactive. If you need me to go back to a slide that I went over too quickly, I'm happy to do that as well. I think to make this sort of more organized, feel free to ask in the chat. There was a question about, will this be recorded? I think it was already answered. Yes, the session is being recorded, so you can access it through the Trojan Family Weekend site later on. You can also feel free to raise your hand. I'm looking at the participant list to see if there are any questions. And actually, while people are thinking of questions, I see Trina and I think Jason from the office. If there's anyone else from the office, can you guys just briefly introduce yourselves? Just so that people can see a name and a face.
I'll go.
Thanks, Trina.
Hi, I'm Professor Trina Gregory. So I'm teaching faculty for the Viterbi School of Engineering. Specifically, my teaching role is in the information technology program, where we provide a lot of classes that are on the more practical side. So we do not provide, we don't have any majors, but we have 13 minors. And these minors are to enhance your students' like technology or kind of these real world experiences, and or if you have a student that isn't having a very technical major, adding in that kind of technology piece to it. So I teach programming classes. So we teach programming classes to non-computer science majors at the entry level. And then we also do other classes with like embedded devices, so where you actually make things. We have ones in engineering, oh my goodness, cybersecurity, various other minors. And then I also, of course, work for our Office of Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, helping to teach entrepreneur skills to the freshmen in Freshman Academy, as all the freshmen in Viterbi, most of the freshmen in Viterbi take this engineering freshman academy class. And so we do this 2-week module teaching them entrepreneur skills so that we can, so that they know about all these different programs. And if they have ideas while they're here as students, we can really play with those ideas and encourage them and teach them the process of taking their ideas and then, you know, maybe creating something with them. And you know, whether it be a startup or you know, just even moving those ideas forward. So we teach them that kind of process. And as Dr. Meng said, I also am a doctoral student as well. So I'm working on a doctorate in education at Rassier at USC in organizational change and leadership. So I'm a student, I'm faculty, I'm also support for our students. I love mentoring our students and just helping them, kind of lead them on whatever they're interested in, and you know, giving them the resources they need to really take their ideas and go forward.
And Trina is very serious about mentoring. She recently won an award in that category, so we're very proud of her accomplishments. Jason, I see you're on video now. You want to just introduce yourself really quickly?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Ordonez, and I help manage the finances and the administration for our department. And you know, we love engaging with the students, and we love when they volunteer. And you know, we're always looking for any kind of help and any engagement with the students. So welcome to Thai.
So I should mention that all the student workers that we employ every year, they have to make it past Jason first. So you got to get past Jason's interview to get employed. So there's a question in the chat about collaboration with students at the Marshall School. We very much collaborate with the schools. In fact, all of our networking events, all of our informational sessions, for our general Alphas activities, our competitions, they're actually open all across the university. And we have participations. Actually, in fact, sometimes we have more Marshall students than Viterbi students participating in some of our events. I mean, this is naturally, I think, their area, right? Entrepreneurship. And so frequently we'll have to encourage the Viterbi students to really step up and participate a little bit more. So we definitely get that. We get students from policy, we get students from law, from sciences, from medicine, really all over the place. I think that's one of the benefits of being part of USC is that we have so many different units that the students can take advantage of much more than just being at Viterbi, but the expertise from all of the other schools as well.
Dr. Meng, can you elaborate more on the engineering honors program?
Absolutely. So the engineering honors program, students apply to that, and there are two sides of it. One is a research track and one is the innovation track. And at the outcome, I think for either track, is the students end up doing something independently, an independent project that they actually have a concrete output for. So on the research track, it makes sense that students might produce some sort of thesis or some sort of other product of a publication as part of their program. For innovation, what we want students to do, it's not as clear cut as I think the research side, but we want students to engage in entrepreneurship in some way. And that could be writing up a technology commercialization plan for a project that they're involved with. It could be actually advancing a startup idea that they have on their own. And to do this, the students participate in a colloquium. This is actually for students across the engineering honors program. So all of them collect and participate in that, and there are speakers that are carefully selected to represent both sides. Actually, there's a lot of intersections between the two, but to engage the students, to get them to interact, this is not a class where they can just sit back and relax and listen. This is very much one where they have to actively participate. That overall program is led by Professor Sandeep Gupta. The research side is led by Professor Andre Armani, and on the innovation side, it's led by Dr. Ellis, who's in the Technology, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship program. After students participate in that colloquium class, they split off into either a research course, or which is usually, it's not a formal course, but actually they can get units, for instance, for actually doing research or just engaging in research activity on their own. And then for the technology commercialization side, innovation side, they actually do take a class. Currently, it's called Engineering 499. I forget the exact title, but we're in a kind of a transition year as we basically develop educational content focused on technology commercialization. So it's a 2-unit class. Maybe next year we'll have a formal number. It's going to continue to be Engineering 499 in the spring. We offer that each semester. There are actually a couple of questions related to, in the chat related to the program. So they're asking how students can apply. I believe there's a call every year in the spring, is that right, Amanda? Where there actually is an info session that students can participate in to learn more about that program. The application not only involves their grades and classes, but also asks them to write some material about why they want to participate. This is the engineering honors program is limited to engineering students. Students that are involved in other schools, I'm not sure if there's a formal way in which they can participate. I know that we are involving Marshall School faculty as mentors for our Viterbi students in the program. The Marshall students, however, can participate freely in everything else, and we actually do have teams that are put together that have a mixture of students from across the campus. There's a question about, is this program the Rush Engineering Honors Program? So yes, this is the new version of that changed just this past year. There is a link now that Trina has posted in the chat if you want to find out how students can apply. So it's viterbiundergrad.usc.edu/EHP. Amanda, do you want to talk a little bit more about the application process? I think you're heavily involved in that.
Yeah, I can talk about the application process. So the info session will actually take place this semester. Early November is what we're shooting for. And then the application will open in December, and it's due in mid-February. So they do have a little bit of time over winter break where they can work on it, as well as at the beginning of the spring semester. Then we review it with a faculty committee, and students hear back by right before they register for their fall courses, so they know if they're able to register for the colloquium course. But again, have your students look out for that. There'll be emails about the info sessions as well as when the application opens.
Yeah, so there's some question earlier about how to get students engaged. So we have a newsletter that goes out, and everyone who signs up for any one of our programs, if we get a hold of their email, they get added to that mailing list. And in that newsletter, we advertise not only events that we host, but also information on events happening around campus, competitions that are happening nationally. We post that information for our students to look at there. And actually the information that's posted is not just relevant to students. There are students, faculty, and staff who are on that mailing list. And so that's a great way of getting information. There's also a separate mailing list. Many of our students are also signed up for that as well. That's actually hosted out of the Marshall School of Business that has access to an even broader set. We really focus on programs that involve deep technologies in some way. And so if there are students that are interested in areas beyond that, there are other resources on campus to find programs that support those activities. I'm looking in the chat to see if there are any questions that I missed. Okay, I noticed that there were several folks that are joining, that joined us a little bit after we started. If you just joined, we did record the event. What I did in the first half was just run through some of the programs that we offer that are very Viterbi centric, and also ones that we offer to the greater community, Los Angeles community, and also nationally as well. And that's kind of captured in this eye chart here on the very last slide, which is meant to sort of show you all the different things that we do in the pipeline of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, both for students, staff, and faculty. All right, so there's a question in the chat. Does Viterbi offer an accelerated bachelor's master's program? So yeah, there is something called the Viterbi Progressive Degree Program, PDP, and many of our undergraduates actually take advantage of that. Usually what they do is that they can take an additional year of courses and earn a master's program on an accelerated basis. So instead of spending 2 years in a program, because they can take advantage of the fact that they're already at USC, they can sort of pre-populate their curricula with programs that would satisfy that progressive degree program. And we have a parent that is celebrating. So congratulations to your daughter, Gloria. Okay, so a request for some clarification on how students from Marshall can apply. All they need to do is participate. So most of our programs on our website actually have information if there are any special criteria. Usually what we want is to see is that there just at least has to be one Viterbi student involved in a team for any of our competitions. And the rest of the makeup could be composed of students, faculty from other departments. So essentially anything other than a specific courses that are limited to Viterbi students, anyone can apply for. Question about when do you apply to PDP? Before your senior year, for sure. Specifically, I think that there is a window for that. I don't recall exactly what the sort of the final date is, but I think it's sometime in the junior year, if I remember correctly. Amanda, do you know the details for PDP?
It all depends on how many units you've completed. There's like a range of units you need to be in to apply, but the Viterbi graduate admission website should have that information. I don't have the exact numbers.
Okay. All right, so there's a question about the summer Smasher internship. Our program is not until the summer, and so usually what we do is we start recruiting and advertising late fall, and then again in the early spring. So January, February timeframe. As far as who would be a good candidate for the internship, I think it really depends on your students. So there's actually information on the website for the Summer Smasher program. Students actually there's video there about their experiences and how they have valued that. But really it's intended for students who want to, who are curious about innovation and entrepreneurship, but may not have an idea already for their own startup and want to see how an existing startup is operating. I think it's a great way to gain that insight and to see some of the struggles that they're having. Students will participate by offering their expertise to help advance that startup. They actually have access to an educational program that goes along with that. They get to present, they get to learn to pitch as part of that. They get to hear from speakers from outside the university in the startup space that can offer legal background, information about how to start, how to launch a company. So I think that programming changes a little bit different. It's a little bit different every year. This past year was especially unique, and we offered a lot more online course modules that students could participate in and actively sort of comment on afterwards, because we actually had to go remote. All right, so several questions here. So for students who are in Viterbi, can they take a course in a different school and can it be counted to the requirements? I guess the requirements say for cinematic arts. We definitely have many students who participate in minors. Many students who I've had go through my research lab have minors in areas that are completely opposite to engineering. I've definitely had students with minors in cinematic arts, and they actually presented me with both a Viterbi, like engineering CV or resume, as well as their sort of acting resume. So I've had students do very, very different things. in minor programs. So you could definitely have students take courses in different schools. I think it's one of the benefits of being part of USC. There's another question about how students join a team. That is a very good question, especially in this environment where people can't interact in person. We definitely have students that are interested in participating on teams that don't have ideas of their own. We have students that have ideas of their own and are looking to recruit people to their effort. And to really do this matchmaking, we're having informational sessions so students can identify, they participate in icebreakers and engage in conversations with their peers. We're also planning on having a networking event. And I forget the exact date of that. I believe it's later this month. I want to say it's October 15th, but the exact date is escaping me right now. We do have that information that will go out on our newsletter and on our website as well.
It looks like we have time for one more question.
Okay, so how do we sign up for the newsletter? I'll answer that one first. So just send an email to viterbi-innovation@usc.edu and you can get added to the newsletter. We don't have any restrictions. Parents are welcome to join and find out about what we do. And sometimes it helps if you nudge your students to pay attention to the emails that we send out. Students oftentimes get distracted by other things and don't read their emails. There's a question about balancing classes for students, especially as they engage in extracurricular activities like clubs and entrepreneurial activities. So definitely, I think in these times, students are probably under a more stressful situation than usual. Engaging and communicating is made all that more difficult by being remote. Students have access to a variety of different online collaboration tools. Online ways of communication, those help. But in terms of balance, I think there are a number of different resources that our student affairs program offers if students are struggling with that balance. I think my personal recommendation, and I actually have this talk with many of the students that get involved in research in my lab, because that's also a significant engagement, is that you really have a limited number of hours in the day. And especially when you're navigating freshman year, I tend to recommend all freshmen that they don't really take part in a major activity until their spring semester, until they've made that first year adjustment to the expectations of a university environment. And so, I kind of tell students who are interested in research to wait a little bit. And I think that for research, just to give you a sense, I usually ask students to basically dedicate it 10 hours a week. And I acknowledge the fact that, they have midterms and finals. And so around those times, if they're kind of absent, that's fine. But, even entrepreneurship and so forth, that can actually take quite a bit of time, especially if someone gets very, very interested in that. So I would say focus and minimize the number of activities and try to get deeply involved so you can be more impactful as opposed to spreading yourselves too thin. I think it's not like high school. Where you can manage that. There's just, I think, many more things to manage, living on your own, for one, and then just navigating all the different requirements of being in college. So I think a whole bunch more questions popped up right when Amanda said the last question. So I tried to address some of that. I want to answer the last part of, what factors have we seen from successful teams? I think it's important for teams to acknowledge what they don't know and to be willing to be coached. We have seen so many students that work with our programs grow personally and make a huge transition as they take advantage of what we have to offer, and have gone on to do fantastic things. I think while they're here, they tend to win a lot of different competitions. And I think it is that journey that they have to be willing to sign up for, and to be consistent, persistent, and relentless in their pursuit of their ideas. It really does take, I think, that kind of mentality and a little bit of resilience when people say no. You have to understand why, and if at first you don't succeed, there's that sort of old adage, you gotta try and try again, especially in this space, right? It's just to not give up.
I want to thank Dr. Ellis Meng, as well as everybody in the Technology Innovation Entrepreneurship Center for being a part of our Trojan Family Weekend. Thank you so much for all the attendees that were here. I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is for the next Viterbi event at 11:30. It is Viterbi Live, and it's discussing AI for social good. We hope to see everybody there. And again, thank you so much for attending. Have a great rest of your Trojan Family Weekend.